There's a couple of different stories about storms in the Bible that are actually quite familiar and quite famous. There's the one about Jonah, and you're familiar with that story. God called Jonah to go and preach to a pagan, brutal nation that had wreaked havoc on Jonah's people. But God called Jonah to go and repent, or to go and tell them to repent. He didn't want to do it. And so he got on this boat, took off, found himself in a storm. Found himself in a storm because he had disobeyed God. In the New Testament, there's a story of the disciples. They're out on a boat because Jesus had sent them there. He had sent them across the water, and he said he would join them later. And they got out in the middle of it, and they encountered a storm, a terrifying storm. And in the midst of the storm, you remember Jesus comes and is walking on the water towards them. And he invites Peter to get out of the boat and walk. Jonah ends up throwing himself over the boat into the water to try to continue to get away. Peter steps out of the boat to walk towards Jesus. Storms come for all of us. And there's a couple of questions perhaps that come up when we find ourselves in the middle of a storm. One, am I supposed to be learning something here? Is this God's opportunity to tell me to turn around, to reflect, to change a little bit of what I'm doing? But if not, perhaps God's inviting you just to step out in trust. That it's scary and you're not sure where things are headed, but it's an opportunity to listen and then to trust. Listen to what God's saying and then to trust. It's interesting, in both those cases, God had plans. He had plans for Jonah, had plans for Peter. Both of them were saved. One ended up swallowed by a fish, was saved, but that had to be scary. One got to walk on water, even if just for a few moments, and to be a part of a miracle of Jesus. I think it's just worth thinking about. Grace and peace.